Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. Um, Thank you for getting up so early on Halloween, and I thought this would be a good way to start. This was me probably, I think, in 5th grade, and I want to thank the Raisin Toast for coming. Yeah, thank you, I appreciate that. Now I'm not alone. Yeah, so I probably dressed up like this for about like 3 years, and I just wanted to point out the Michael Jackson glove that I wore probably more frequently than I should have. This was my last moment with that, so happy Halloween. Okay, so as Chris said, the theme is crossover, and so when I was thinking about the theme and what that meant to me in my life and my career, basically it's a change from one style or type of activity to another. So I thought, okay, well, that's pretty much my whole career. So I have gone from one extreme to the other, and how those all came together to pretty much get me to the magic where I am now. And this is a quick overview, basically, from the different careers in the past in order of where I started. So I graduated from Ringling School of Art and Design, and I entered in as an illustration major. And I went in there, and I didn't really know what I was going to do, but they said, oh, well, you can kind of draw, so yeah, you're illustration. And then I was going in to pay a school loan, and I saw a bouncing ball on the TV, and I was like, whoa, that's really cool, I think I want to do that. So that day, I was like, I'm 3D animation. And it was just like that. No one really ever sat me down and said, are you sure you want to do this? Is this really what you want to do? So 4 years with a degree in 3D animation. And right after school, I got hired at an animation company that was a Fox affiliate doing a Saturday morning cartoon for kids, which was exactly what I wanted to do. So I was like, awesome, this is cool. It was a complete nightmare. It was a really, really bad first experience, so bad that I was like, you know what, forget this, I'm not doing this, no way. So I went back to Sarasota, and I got my old bartending job back, and I was like, oh, okay, I think I like this. And then my friends, after a lot of years, was like, seriously, you need to go get a job, you need to go figure out what you're doing. So I sat around, I thought about it, and I said, well, I wasn't really into the animating. I was building sets. I was doing, the type for the intros. I was doing textures and colors, and so really I was designing. Why I hadn't figured that out before. Before that, I don't know, you're young and you really shouldn't know what you're going to do at that time. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to be a graphic designer. So while I was bartending, I just started talking to people and was like, hey, you need a business card, you need this, you need that, and it was crazy because I had to send something to print for the first time, and I didn't know what I was doing, and they were extremely frustrated with me, and they're like, how could you graduate from this school, and you don't even know how to send something to print? So that was a huge wake-up call, and I was like, oh, I kind of need to start all the way at the bottom, right, and go all the way back up again. So with a little bit of freelance underneath my belt, very, very little, I applied for a job at the Longboat Key Observer, which is a small newspaper in Sarasota. And I started building ads, and it was a newspaper, so I needed to work pretty fast immediately. So as I was working and learning and really understanding how newspapers developed, that was really the meat of bare bones production and design. So I worked there for about 2 years, and then after that, I was thinking, well, what's my dream job? My dream job, because I still wanted to live in Sarasota because it was an amazing place to live, and I just hadn't come to the realization that I couldn't really afford to live there anymore. So I was like, oh, my dream job is I want to be at at Sarasota Magazine. I want to design for the magazine. It's color, right? Because I was in newspaper. I was like, oh, it's color. And it seems so glamorous, and they're socialites and all this. So a job opened up, and I applied, and I got the job, and I started pumping out ads. And then it got to a point where they were like, oh, we need a photographer. So I was like, oh, hey, I can do that. And so I started taking photos for the magazine. And I ended up working there for 2 years, and it was an amazing job. It was great. It was just as glamorous at the time that I always imagined it to be. So it got to a point where there wasn't really anything else I could do. And after like 2 to 3 years in a magazine, it's pretty repetitive. So I was like, okay, I think I want to move on. And I knew that with the college being there, it was very saturated with designers. So I was like, I got to go to the big city. So I moved to Orlando. And so I moved to Orlando, and I was like, now I want to work for an advertising agency. And I got up the yellow pages, and yes, back then we had to look at the yellow pages. And I was like looking, and I was like, oh, calling. And Julio Lima was at Push, and I must have called him, I don't know, like 15, 20 times, like never responds. I was like, man, I still give him a hard time about that. So I got an interview at this agency called Daner Hall. It was downtown on Pine Street, so I was like, whoa, this is really cool, in a small house. And they were looking for a junior designer, and I was young and eager and ready to go. And so I got hired, and I was the only girl with 4 boys. So that was a little bit of a learning curve there. I was like, okay, I'm the only one. That learning curve was probably one of the biggest learning curves I've ever had in my entire life. I mean, I was devastated. The type of work, the caliber of work that they were doing, and where I needed to get, just crying, driving home from work, like, oh my gosh, like, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna keep up? They were very, very patient with me. So many hours, they sat down with me, helped me, worked through so much Photoshop, and it was great. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, something like one day happened, and I was like, oh, I got this, I got it. So I ended up working there for 4 years. It was great. We had clients, Fortune 500 companies, Microsoft and Verizon, but they were in California. So I had to work our normal time, our normal business hours, and then California time, which was crazy. So with that, I learned, like, wow, we're working like really long hours. This is crazy. But I worked with an amazing group of people, and so we just had fun. We had a blast, and we just did the best. And we actually came out with some really great work. The best feeling was to beat out a larger agency that these companies would go to. Simply based off the fact that we worked harder than they did, and we did that because we were small, and when we were able to prove that we could do just as good work as the larger agencies with big teams, that was really satisfactory to me. So then I worked there for 4 years, and hey Jay, welcome. And so then we get to my next job here. Sorry, got distracted. Okay, so here's where I begin with the crossover. And so basically, to me, it was like, what did I take from my previous jobs and apply them to the jobs that I wanted to get, right? And so I wanted to get into advertising, and so I had 3 years design experience, and I was just really eager to learn. And they saw that, they took a chance on me, and it was a great time. And so then I was like, well, I'm kind of done with these late nights. I'm kind of done doing, it was technology based, so it was kind of the same content again over, just like the magazine. So I was like, okay, I kind of want to do something different. I was reading the newspaper, the Orlando Business Journal, and I saw an article about this magazine that was starting up in Orlando, and it was all about how families can create a family and build a family in all the different ways, and really educating them on that, because it was something that no one really talked about. And at the time, I was in the process of going through adopting. I was adopting my son. So I was like, whoa, this is pretty cool. I have magazine experience. I'm adopting a kid. I think this could be pretty neat for me. And so for the first time, I was like, you know what, I don't care what I do, I just want to be a part of this. Like whatever they're doing, I just want to be a part of it. So I emailed them, I called them, they met me for lunch. They said, yeah, we really like your story, we really need help. And so you're the creative director. I was like, sweet. So, I was with this company. Now they were previous bankers that quit their corporate job and were starting this magazine because they had their own personal stories to go through. And so it was just really interesting because all of a sudden I saw the business side of it because they were bankers, and so everything was about the revenue, the money, how are we. And then in addition, we didn't want to just be a magazine. We were doing. It was like, well, we wanted to be a brand. Conceive wanted to be a brand. And so that was really the first start of what I considered branding at that time, because it was my first experience of taking a concept and carrying it through all different kinds of aspects. And this was a really fun job. This was great because I got to travel, I got to speak and tell my story. It was pretty unique. Someone at my age at that time was adopting a child. Now, I guess it's much more trendy, I guess, but back then it was like Angelina Jolie was like my superhero. So it was great to be able to be a part of something that I felt was helping people. And if I could encourage people to think about adoption like I had, instead of going through all years and years of heartache, then that was great. So it was more about that and less about the design. And so this happened. And so this is my son, and for most of you that are friends with me know a lot about him. But he came home, and so he came home, and then I was like, okay, I need, like, he's so adorable. I need to spend some time with him. So I took some time off, and then I started getting, itchy, like, ooh, I don't want to take too much time because, it's competitive out there, and the software's changing, and I got to step back in, because if I'm out too long, I'm going to have to go back to the newspaper again, right? So I started thinking, okay, well, if there's anywhere in Orlando that I want to work, that I want to be, the work that I want to do, where would that be? And it was Lure Design, right? So I had heard stories and stories about Lure and their work, and Jeff Matz and Paul Mastriani, and it's these amazing rock posters, and so I was like, okay, I want to get in there, I want to do that. So I was at some sort of, paper show or something, and, whispers were like, oh, Jeff Matz is here, so I was like, where is he? Who is he? They're like, oh, that guy right there. I was like, oh, I could go up and talk to him, okay, it's no problem. So I'm like, hey, you're Jeff Matz? He's like, yeah. I'm like, hey, I'm Kelly Romano, and da-da-da. Yeah, do you have a letterpress by any chance? And he's like, well, as a matter of fact, I do. We just have one in the garage, and we really want to learn how to use it, but we just haven't had the time. And I was like, hey, I'm your girl. Here I am. I'm going to come in, and I'm going to learn how to use this letterpress, right? And so I did. I came in, I learned how to take the thing apart, put it together. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was printing stuff on it. And within that, I was building friendships. And the place was so amazing that I was like, you know what, I want to spend more time here. So I got a laptop, and I was like, there's a little counter space right there. Like, do you think I could just hang out and do some freelance work, like right there? They're like, yeah, sure. So I started squatting there, and so I'm in there, and I'm like, okay, well, now I've got like this business development, under my belt. I've got design. I've got all this thing, and I've got the super cool kid. So I'm feeling like I fit in there. So I started observing what was going on, and I'm like, how do these people get new business? Like, people just come in the door, and then it appears. And I was like, maybe I could help with that. Maybe I could say, I could lend a hand there, or if there was any type of, design work, pitches or anything, like, oh, hey, you need an extra person to design. I was doing freelance in there. And so then I saw an opportunity come about when they had an opening for an office manager. And I was like, here it is. Never been an office manager, but I'm your girl. So I was like, hey, why don't I take that position? And in addition, I can help bring in new business because now I know how to do that, right? And I can design, and I can do any, you know, whatever else you want me to do. And so there it was. So really awesome experience, amazing people, extremely talented. I was very, very fortunate to work there, and I did actually get to design a couple posters. Not to the caliber that they do, but I did get to screen print, and I think that was like a turning point for me, because the first time that someone actually paid money for something that I created, I was like, whoa, they're gonna hang that up in their house? That's wild. Because in design, you know, we produce this work and it serves a purpose, but no pocket, at least in my experience, no one's really paying money out of their pocket to like have something that I created. So that was pretty awesome. And so now at this point, Ian is getting bigger, and so it came a change in my life where I was like, well, okay, I kind of got to put my big girl pants on, and I've got to have things like, you know, a 401k and benefits and health insurance, and kind of think about, you know, when I'm retiring and things like that. So an opportunity came up for a position with the Magic, which is where we are here. And I was like, okay, never been to a basketball game before. Didn't even really like sports. Never participated in sports in school. I actually hated PE. But you know what? Let's check it out. Let's see what it's about. Let's see, you know, just let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. So I applied, and it was online, which was really weird to me. I was like, I have to fill out like this weird online form, and you know, but I still attached my resume and a cover letter, because I'm like, how are they supposed to like see what I'm doing, right? So I did that, and then this was the interview process, which it blew my mind. I had never experienced anything like this ever before. So there were over 100 applicants for this position, which again was crazy to me, because I really didn't understand the want to be able to get into professional sports. So I was like, oh, you know, I mean, I found that out later, and I was like, whoa. So this is the process that I went through, right? And I think what prepared me for this and what the crossover was going way back to being a bartender and being able to meet new people and talk to new people. And then at this point, you know, I had 9 years of experience underneath my belt, and I was doing, you know, anything and everything that I could possibly imagine. So I was like, okay, I've got that, right? This was for a graphic design position. And so I was like, well, now this is about, you know, money, security, benefits, you know, all of those kind of grown up. So did the online application, and then HR calls me. They're asking me all these like serious questions, and I was like, okay, so I answered that. Called me back again, asked me more questions. Yep, I'm ready for the interview, okay. And then the creative manager calls me, and that's when she kind of interviews me. Okay, that was great. We had another phone call. I was like, okay. I don't know how much more they want to know about me. There was background checks. I forgot to put that on there. And then they said, well, we need you to do a test project at home. And I was like, what? Aren't you looking at my portfolio? Like, a test project? Okay, great. So I did this test project, and pretty intense. I was like, this is like not an easy. So I did that, and I sent it in. And then the creative team called, and they interviewed me. And that was great, nice people. I was like, okay, you know, I can do this. This is great. And then I needed to come in and have more interviews. And then they wanted me to sit in the space and do another test project, like a newspaper ad. And I think it was like, what does it look like and how fast can she do it? And I was like, I got this. This is like going way back, right? So I did the ad. And then I had an interview in front of a panel. So I'm waiting in the lobby, and I see two other people, and they kind of look like they had portfolios, and they're really dressed up, like heels, suits, and I was feeling good because I went to Banana Republic the night before, and I got these really nice jeans that kind of had pleats, and I was like, jeans, and then like this nice top that was like dressed up for me. And apparently that was that she came in jeans, and to me I was like, I don't understand, and that came later, but I was like, wow, really? So then I met in front of this panel, and the panel was very intimidating. It was very quiet in the room, and they were asking me deep questions like, how do you present yourself out in the community? And I was like, I was just like going to rock shows, and yeah, great, well, I have a son, so I hope I present myself pretty well because, I have this person that, I need to, make sure that I'm doing the right things. I try not to cuss in front of them, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm a mom, so I try to be a really good person. And the questions were just coming at me, and they were really less about my work and more about the person that I am. And then after that, I needed to sit down in another room and meet with the VP and director of marketing at that time. And again, same kind of questions, but then more about like my working style, what I did before, and those were a little bit more geared towards what my actual job was. Then I left, and I just kind of waited, and I was like, whew, that was intense. And then I got the call, and they said, yep, we really like you, come on in. So I said, all right. And so once I got there, that's when I began to realize the type of people that I was surrounding myself with. And this is just a glimpse of the people that I work with and where they've come from and have worked at the Magic. So once I started to realize that, I was like, wow, I'm working with a VP of marketing that worked at Jordan Brand and worked at Coke. And I'm working side by side and really building a friendship with someone that worked at the White House and flew on Air Force One. And so I was like, wow, this is crazy. And all these people are here in Orlando, right? And so I remember going in to work, and like everybody was wearing blue and black like every day. And I was just like, this is kind of weird, like, why, this is intense, right? And then I was like, going to the store and trying to find blue things because I just had black. And I was like, okay. And then people were really, really nice, like really nice. Like I'm a nice person, but these people were like really nice. How? And nobody was cursing or anything. And I was like, this is weird, but okay. And so then I realized, like, a month into it, I was like, these people are real. They're really like this. Like, they're really nice people. This is crazy. And so I would say, when people say, what is one of the best things about working for the Magic? And it's the people. I mean, the people that I work with every day, it's just, they're fantastic. And it rings true to the interview process. Because without that process, we wouldn't get those type of people. We wouldn't have the team that we have. So now I see the importance of that and really, why that was set in place. Okay, so then the benefits came, and remember I was like, okay, well, yeah, I need like 401k and stuff like that, right? And then they said, okay, well, these are like the extra things that you get. And I was like, wow, okay, see, tickets, probably need to go to a couple games so I can start to understand like what basketball is like. That'd be good. And probably, I didn't even know the names of the players, so I had a learning curve there. And then there's like these department retreats. Oh, my first day was like employee appreciation week, like the whole week. And like every day, like they were like feeding us, like massages. Like, I was like, whoa, like I hit the jackpot here, right? So department retreats. So for team building and relationships, and also because we work really hard, departments get together and we do things that are fun that have nothing to do with basketball. So we go paddleboarding, bowling, things like that. So there's a great system in place for that to kind of give us the extra team building skills and just to go out and have fun with each other. We have something, a group of people that kind of go around and, well, we meet and we just come up with really fun things for us to do at work. So like for Thanksgiving is our next one, and we have a bunch of pies and ice cream, and so we go around and we serve pie to everyone at their desk, and you know, it's just a nice fun thing, and everybody gets really excited about it. Oh, summer hours. So those of you who know me get really upset when I have summer hours. Because I have like every other Friday off. I get out days early, and it's pretty amazing to have a 4-day week for like 3 months. And I think it ended up being like a total of 18 additional vacation days than you normally get. Yeah, we just get like extra days every once in a while. So like All-Stars in February, they're like, oh, take a day off for All-Star. Awesome. We have an innovation lab. This is new, so this is really cool. It's a whole structure that's getting set in place for us to come together and really do this different type of brainstorming and creation and learning and really pushing the limits and coming up with ideas that maybe haven't ever been done or haven't ever been explored before. Because, you know, when we're so into our own circle and into what we're doing, sometimes we lose sight of, like, you know, gaining empathy for the people who are actually immersed in it. So, you know, we think, oh, you know, yeah, everybody loves free t-shirts, and, you know, let's just give them another free t-shirt. And really, you know, maybe they don't want any more t-shirts. Maybe they want something else. And so it's really learning about different brainstorming and really coming up with ideas that are new and original. Magic University, so we have these all staff meetings, and it's really like to get geared up for the season. And it's just a whole day of hearing from our coach and rookie players and the business plan, and really just everyone having an understanding of what the goals and what the business strategy is for the season coming. And then they add a whole bunch of fun stuff in there too. We get our own interns. So the intern program is really, really spectacular. They don't go and get coffee and things like that. Like, they actually do like real work. I take it very seriously. Our intern program is for the whole season, and they have to be college graduates. So they're really making a commitment to maybe not take that full-time job, but to come in and be an intern for the season. You know, simply because they want to work in sports. Like, this is what they want to do, and this is what they have to do. And our intern this year is really talented, and he came all the way from Washington State to work for the Magic. So our interns in the past have always gotten full-time positions in sports. Our last one, Matt Stone, some of you may have known, he went to UCF, and he's now a designer at Orlando City Soccer. So really, really proud of him for that. We get training. We have career coaching if we need that. If we just want to make sure that, you know, we are staying in check, and if you're a manager or a director, to make sure, you know, how are you doing with your team? How are those relationships going? What can you do to improve? And how can you be a better manager? So I'm always signing up for those, because I always want to see what can I do to improve. And then we get community service, and that's really encouraged. This is one of my favorite benefits at work, and we're able to sign up for community service during work hours, and then we kind of get credit. And then at the end of the year, you know, there's kind of like, you know, this person did 120 hours. I think the organization totals about like 100,000 hours a year or something crazy like that. But we do have an all-staff community service day, and that's a whole day, and this is up, and we donate to the pantry. And this is only half of the court, so the whole other half of the court was filled. And, you know, they make it really fun. We get on teams, and if we're naturally competitive, so we're always like, who can do it the fastest? Who can, you know? And I like every year, like, faster and faster. And they're like, you guys like do a ridiculously amount of food like in 2 hours. And so here I am. I'm 3 months in. I'm wearing my black and my blue every day. I'm starting to fit in, and I'm like, okay. So I'm a graphic designer, and I'm reporting to the manager. And she takes a promotion in a different department, and so now there's this open space. And it's like a traffic and production person, does all the quoting, huge job, but really doesn't need any graphic design experience. So when she was leaving, and she had been there for years, so I felt really comfortable working under her because she really knew everything about basketball, and it was just what I needed. It was great. And then she was leaving, and I was like, oh man, like they're gonna get somebody coming in here like, young, doing like trafficking jobs and coordinating and no design experience. And then I see these other designers around, and no one's really helping them, and they're young and they're right out of school, and then the intern, and they're doing the work and they're doing a great job, but I'm seeing like a plateau, right? Because there's nobody there that's like really pushing them or really saying like, hey, take a look at this type or this lining. So I went to the VP and the director after only being there for 3 months, which I found out later was extremely bold. They're like, wow, that's really gutsy. Like you're coming here and saying like, yeah, I kind of see a problem with this structure here, and I think it could be like you need a creative director or somebody to help these designers grow. Help. You need somebody to help them that's going to be willing to teach them and have them move forward and progress. And they said, well, come up, show me a deck. And I was like, I don't know what a deck is. What is a deck? Well, a PowerPoint. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you serious? A PowerPoint? And they're like, show me how you would restructure this department. Well, at the time, I had no idea really what I was doing. And now that I'm 5 years in, I was like, oh, wow, that was a pretty big deal. So I came up with a plan on what I thought a creative director was and how it could help the department and why it should be in place. And they saw my presentation and they said, okay, we agree with you. And here you are. Now you're in charge of these people. And then I was like, wow. I don't know what I just got myself into, but it was a great experience. And so now I was actually being able to help these designers improve and really kind of turn the fast food creative, is what we call it, when you're just pumping out work and you got to work so fast, you're not being able to refine it, to really bringing in and turning it into an in-house agency. So I think in the last 4.5 years, we go by seasons, so it's my 5th season, but it's 4 years of work. I think that we've really, we compete with outside agencies for the work, and the organization always decides to go with our creative, and they really trust that we're building the best creative better than an outside agency could provide. So to me, that was a pretty big moment. So our creative goal is to develop superior creative, and we want the fans to connect, right? So we want to build creative where the fans are excited and they want to connect to the brand and the team. And so my team here is the creative services manager, who also has roles in marketing as well. We have 2 designers, a design intern. We hire freelance, and occasionally we hire agencies to do some type of campaign work or special projects. And I had the pleasure of being able to have Jeremy Kennedy come in and work in-house with us for 8 weeks. And it was just fantastic to have someone fresh on the team with a completely different perspective. It really rejuvenated us as a team. So our clients, this is a list of clients, and this is basically all internal. So every department inside the organization comes to us for their jobs. So at any time, we have 100+ jobs in production at all time. Right before the season, 2 months leading up to the season, which our opener was just last night, we can get up to 180 jobs, and that can vary anywhere from an ad, a magazine ad, to a 48-page book. I mean, it really runs the gamut of the type of job. So it's a lot of work, it's a lot of volume, and it's a really fast pace. So to get to a new campaign, the process is really daunting, and you can just kind of see here quickly what that process is. It's got to go through a lot of approvals, a lot of tweaking, research, focus groups. It's got to go all the way up to the president of the organization and to the general manager of the team. So everyone in the organization has to buy into this campaign. So there's a lot of front-end work to get the go-ahead. And then when that's all done and you come up with the creative and you build the style guide and you have everything set for the season, you're like, this is what it's going to look like, and the marketing plan. Then we have to send it to the league, and the league has to review it, and the league has to approve it. And then once you get the league approval, you can finally begin production and go. So it's pretty intense. I mean, we piecemeal it to the league as we go because we would never want to have everything in place and then have them say, like, no way, like, you're not doing that. So it's a very long process, and we start months and months and months and months in advance before the season starts. So, and so our new campaign is Pure Magic. And so with a lot of focus groups and research groups, the fans really resonated with this the most. So that was what was great to me about this campaign, is that it seems like the fans were most excited about this Pure Magic. And so these are some samples of the brand. So you'll really, it's pure at heart. So it's it's the intensity. It's like you're 100% pure. You're all in. And it's about the game. And so when you go to a game and you experience, we want you to be able to connect with the players. So those big, bold images are really, really important. And so we have a media day, and so we kind of take this work, and now we have a day where we have a big photo shoot with the players. And so you think you would have like all day. We have 5 minutes tops for each player, and that's it. And so we really have to have our ducks in a row, and I mean, it's crazy. And then the first like 15 photographs are for the league, for NBA, so when you see them on TV and it's just like a mug shot, like that's for them. And then after that, we're like, okay, I need your arms crossed, I need you to turn, I need you to do this, and it's quick. And so I had taken some of the samples and posted them up, and so when the players came in, and they like to see like what's going on, and so Nick, this is Nick, he was really excited about it, and he was like, yeah, I think I look like this, and so it was pretty fun, and he really liked it, and he was like, do you think you can send me that image? I don't know what he's going to do with it, but I'm like, sure. And so, the other part is just making sure that, everything's in place and they're styled correctly. Shoelaces are tied, no earrings, things like that. So, and so now we get to some outdoor. So we launched the campaign, and so this is some outdoor creative. And again, it's bringing those big, bold images in your face so that you feel the boldness of it. Some pole banners. And so this is an example of a unique type of project that just, it's like, okay, we've got this really cool bridge that you walk from the parking lot to the building. It'd be really cool if we like wrapped it. So this went up in the middle of the night, and it took immense amount of work to be able to get this up. Street closures, hiring police officers. I mean, thank you, Mark. And so there's so much behind the scenes that to this you're like, oh, that's a cool banner up, but like internally it's so much work, but it's really kind of cool to see. And then we take the brand in arena. So we have our outdoor, we have our regular marketing assets, but then we take it in arena, and so we brand every possible space we can think of. I mean, this is a hallway going, so this is the path of travel for the visitors team. So we want to make sure that when the visitors are walking through the hallway, they know where they are, they know our campaign, and we just want to like smother it in there. So that's the inside. And there's just so much work that I tried putting slides together, and I was like, it's too much. So this is a wall. in my area, in my space, and I, everything that we kind of do with the brand, I kind of just tack up so I can just kind of remember and see overall and look for consistency as well. And so this is probably my personal proudest moment, and that was I had the opportunity to redesign the court. And at first I was like, okay, yeah, I can do that. And you would think that it's not like graphically challenging. We have, one typeface, 3 colors, that's it. I mean, far cry from like the rock poster days where we could just like do whatever we wanted. So I was like, yeah, I can design a court. And it really didn't hit me until I started watching the games on TV. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool. Like, there's the court that I worked on. And then also, it's in a video game, so it was like super rushed. Like all of a sudden I had this like hardcore deadline. I was like, what's the rush? Like, we're so far out from the season. They're like, oh, well, they're producing this video game, and if we want the court, the authentic court in the video, we got to get this approved. And again, it had that same approval process as the campaign, going to the league and everything. And then you can see the chairs are all gray. At times we cover every seat with a t-shirt for opening night. So it's 18,900 shirts, and they're hand placed on there. So it's pretty crazy. And then there's this guy again. So going back to, why I left the most, amazing place at Lure, why I needed to leave creative freedom and all of that was for this guy. And so now he's growing up in this environment. He has no idea, that he gets all this stuff. He's like, yeah, Mom, put me on the website. I'm like, no. So we need some diversity in our marketing materials. And I was like, hey, I've got this really cute Asian boy. And so we did a photo shoot, and it was crazy. And he just thinks, he's really cool. And so now he was in some of our marketing materials, and so it's really fun. So basically, that's the crossover. Crossover is taking everything that you learn, regardless of what the profession is, regardless of what your major is or what you think you are. If you see an opportunity and you want to try it, you want to go for it, just observe. Look to see what's around you and just go for it, and be bold, because if you don't, then you may just miss out on a great opportunity. And so work hard. If you work harder than anyone else, you can't fail. So thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. I hope I didn't talk too long. But I wanted to let you know that I have pairs of tickets for everyone for tomorrow's game. So if you guys, thank you. Thanks. So you can grab a pair on your way out, and that way you can actually go and experience the game, and you can go in and just see really everything that we do. So thank you very much.